Black Star Network is here.
Hold no punches!
I'm real revolutionary right now.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America, Roland.
Stay black. I love y'all.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, there's a difference between Black Star Network and Black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be Black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig? Today's Friday, April 17, 2026, coming up on Roland Martin Unfiltered, streaming live on the Black Star Network. Los Angeles County judge has formally dismissed voluntary manslaughter charges against two former Torrance police officers involved in the 2018 shooting death of a black man, Christopher DeAndre Mitchell. I will speak with the family's attorney and an activist about how the judge's decision is affecting the community. Folks, on Tuesday in Chicago, a 23-year-old black man killed his 51-year-old mother for turning the gun on himself. Another case of a murder-suicide. This young man had been reeling from the death of his father a couple of years earlier. We're going to continue our conversation about what is going on in our community when it comes to men, murder-suicide, domestic violence, dealing with grief, and how we must create a different conversation in our community about protecting black women as opposed to seeing them buried at the hands of loved ones. In tonight's Crockett Chronicles, Texas Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett delivers a direct response to the ongoing debate surrounding sanctuary policies, shifting the focus from local politics to federal responsibility. The jury has found that Ticketmaster and Live Nation operated an anti-competitive monopoly over large concert venues that took place in California. Morgan Harper the economist will talk about how this is going to impact your wallet. Plus, Health and Human Services Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. loses his composure when Alabama Congresswoman Terry Sewell reminds him just how unqualified he is for his position. And in tonight's Shop Black Star Network segment, we'll showcase loungewear for women who desire the unmistakable feeling of luxury and style. It's time to bring the funk on Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network. Let's go.
He's got whatever the miss, he's on it. Whatever it is, he's got the scoop, the fact, the find. And when it breaks, he's right on time and it's rolling. Best believe he's knowing. Putting it down from sports to news to politics. With entertainment just for kicks, he's rolling. It's on go, y'all. It's Roland Martin, yeah. Rolling with Roland now. He's funky, he's fresh, he's real, the best, you know he's Roland Martin now.
A California judge officially dismissed manslaughter charges against two police officers involved in the 2018 shooting death of a 23-year-old black man, Christopher DeAndre Mitchell. He was a suspect of a car theft and was sitting in a supermarket parking lot with an air rifle between his legs, but he never pointed the weapon at either officer before they shot and killed him. It's been an 8-year saga to see if the officers involved would face criminal charges. The DA at the time, Jackie Lacey, initially chose not to pursue prosecution, African-American DA. Even so, Mitchell's family was awarded $7.8 million to settle a wrongful death lawsuit in 2022. The following year, Lacey's successor, District Attorney Judge Gascon, reopened the case, resulting in a grand jury indictment of both officers in 2023. But newly elected DA Nathan Hochman said he intended to abandon the prosecution, a decision that was signed off on by Superior County Judge Sam Ota. Joining us now is Peter Carr, the Mitchell family's attorney, and Sheila Bates, an organizer with Black Lives Matter Los Angeles. Glad to have both of you here. Peter, so what was the DA's rationale for abandoning the case?
Well, that's a good question. You know, it varied, right? So in November 2025, when they initially moved to dismiss, it was because they believed that the court was not going to allow evidence that pre-shooting tactic evidence. The court corrected them at a January hearing, indicating that they would allow for the for some of that evidence to come in, and so they changed their rationale. Well, the judge told them, gave them the option of either dismissing their motion to dismiss, or filing the motion in limine, so that the court could rule on the evidence, so they'd have a determination as to what the court would consider at trial, or to fix their memorandum and their motion to dismiss, and that's what they did. So they removed their primary justification, and they basically just said that they didn't feel like the evidence was strong enough to support to meet the burden. And the court ruled that that the prosecution has their discretion to do so.
Were they keeping the family abreast of this whole time, so you knew what was going on?
Yes, the family knew. They had several meetings, and so the family was aware that they were going to dismiss the charges.
So as a result, that's it. Nothing else. That's the end of this road regarding on the criminal side, correct?
Well, no. There is we can appeal to the Department of Justice, California Department of Justice, and we had reached out to them before because we knew they were going to dismiss the charges, or they were trying to dismiss the charges, and so we reached out to the Department of Justice to see if they would take up the prosecution. And they declined at that moment because they said there was no conflict of interest. Now we can appeal to the Department of Justice for abuse of discretion. So whether or not the district attorney's office abused their discretion in dismissing the lawsuit because they did not properly evaluate the evidence.
And you said the California Department of Justice, and we surely know the DOJ here in D.C. don't give a damn about cases involving police misconduct.
Not at all. So we're hopeful that California will.
Sheila, how are folks in the community receiving this news?
It's been devastating. It's been devastating for the family who has fought for 7 years and really was hoping that the justice system would do something different than what we expected, right? That this decision, although disappointing, is not surprising, right? We know that the system was never built for us, and so it's not shocking that they allowed another cop to go free. 2 cops in this case, and thus name them Anthony Chavez and Matthew Buchanan. And it's not shocking that once again, that when a person is when the victim is a Black person, that they allow for the murderers to go free.
And again, the issue that we're seeing because of what's happening in D.C., you have flat out Donald Trump wants to give all cops immunity for their actions. And so it's not like in the past where you could actually appeal to the Department of Justice Civil Rights Division. What we have now is a very hostile Civil Rights Division when it comes to any case involving a police officer.
That's right.
Sheila, go ahead.
This is an indictment, to your point, right? This is an indictment on the employment system. That this is happening here in Torrance, but that we're also seeing this as a pattern around the country. That there is an intentional move to try and make it so that there is a turning back of these cases that are continuing, right? So it's not just Christopher Mitchell. It's Breonna Taylor, right? It's Frank Mason. What's we see this as a pattern across the country, which is alarming because it sends a dangerous message to Los Angeles, not just to Chavez and Matthew, but to every in LA County where Nathan Hawkins proceeds as the DA that allows every single cop to think that they can get away with murder with impunity, because they can. Because DA Hoffman has taken so much money from the Los Angeles Police Protective, and so he's oftentimes doing their bidding as opposed to the work that he's supposed to be doing for the people as a prosecutor.
Peter, final comment from you. Again, that particular point, and we said this when Trump got inaugurated. For the next 4 years, attorneys like you can forget getting any justice out of our federal Department of Justice.
Absolutely, it's going to be a fight. We're in district courts, and we have to deal with the Court of Appeals. But yeah, the Department of Justice is not going to help on any criminal prosecution of these officers, and it really sends the wrong message to the community and to the country.
All right then, Peter Carr and Sheila Bates, I appreciate it. Thanks a lot. Folks, introducing my panel right now, Candace Kelly, legal analyst and host of Takeaway with Candace Kelly out of South Orange, New Jersey. Michael Imhotep, host African History Network show out of Detroit. Candace, I'm going to start with you. The point there, I mean, we've had Harry Daniels, Ben Crump, and so many others on discussing this. And we have a federal Department of Justice that is absolutely hostile to any case. If it's a cop, it's an involved cop, Donald Trump, it's like, yo, we are supporting that cop 100%. And so the only real justice left is putting pressure on these local DAs to do their jobs.
Yeah, and that's why we saw the back and forth over the years in terms of the local DAs who took office and then what was changed. You went through the history of it, and at first there were no charges, and then there were charges, and now we're at a point where the charges are dropped. But this is not a time for you to be a victim inside of the justice system and expect the system to really work for you in any way. I mean, in fact, when has that ever been the case? But certainly not now. I think what's also key in this particular instance is that there was video camera footage that really could have gone either way in terms of, the blurry footage. And beyond a reasonable doubt is something that the prosecutors felt that they could not make sense of and they could not actually stick. There was also the question, too, Roland, of this whole jury award that was already given. And while jury awards are good, it doesn't bring the person back, obviously, but it seems like a predetermined kind of outcome of what's to come. Like, you've got your money, be good, and then go away. So I think that the timing of this jury award was also something to pay attention to, but definitely not a time, again, where the administration, the Department of Justice, anybody in the Supreme Court, they're not listening. And that's the system that we have that's in place. In fact, as a lot of people know, listen, Donald Trump went to the Supreme Court recently for the birthright citizenship case when the Supreme Court took it up. This is someone who is heavily involved in everything that's going on in the judicial process. He took a seat in the middle of a war. That is how important the judicial process is. And that is how that's the type of eye that he has on the judicial process to make sure that it is not going to be working in the favor of people of color.
Absolutely. It is not our Department of Justice, Michael.
No, it's not. And the irony is that the U.S. Department of Justice was founded in 1870 by Congress largely to enforce the new rights that African Americans were given. Okay, largely to enforce voting rights and things of this nature. So to compare that Department of Justice under Attorney General Amos Ackerman to this Department of Justice under Todd Blanche, who's acting Attorney General, it's a stark difference. But keep in mind, when Donald Trump ran for re-election in 2024, he promised 100% immunity to police officers against criminal prosecution for doing their job. Okay, and this is the same thing he wanted to do in 2016 when he ran as well. So, this is a tragic case. I was reading some of the details of this. Well, one of the shocking things is this took place in December 9th, 2018. This took place 8 years ago, and we're still trying to get some type of justice in criminal court. In the other thing I wasn't able to find out, even though a 2000 Honda Civic was reported stolen, I never saw any information saying that the police identified the license plate of a Honda Civic, because Christopher was in a Honda Civic. According to CBS LA, the article, it said that the Honda Civic he was in was reported stolen, but I never saw anything saying that it was the same license plate as the one that was originally reported to police as stolen.
Yeah, we call those pesky details. And that's how it's being treated. All right, hold tight 1 second. Got to go to break. When we come back, more drama, Capitol Hill. Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett, Congresswoman Terry Sewell, holding folks accountable. We'll talk about that. You're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network.
Why does it feel like we're going backward? Voting rights under attack, schools stripped of funding, Black history erased. This is the Trump MAGA agenda. They want to take us back. They are redrawing congressional lines in states across the country, deciding who gets power and who gets silenced. We see what this is, a power grab. Virginians won't be fooled. Show up, vote, take back our power. It's a temporary measure that gives the people, not politicians, the final say. Vote yes by April 21st.
Hey everybody, I'm TD Jakes and I want to encourage you to watch Roland Martin Unfiltered. It'll blow your mind.
During Thursday's House Judiciary Committee hearing, Texas Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett delivered a direct response to the ongoing debate over sanctuary cities. Her message was clear. The conversation is way bigger than labels or talking points. It's about accountability.
And I hear your rage, and I don't have children and literally have never lost a child nor had one injured to actually, really be in your shoes. But one thing that I can tell you about the redirection is because so often what we see happen is politicians play games. The reality is that if you are talking about a sanctuary city, then we're talking about city government. We're talking about local control, something that the Republicans used to espouse that they believed in. They used to believe in whoever lives in that city, you elect who is going to run that city. And that city, whether it's the police department, which is the police department and law enforcement that make the decisions about what they do. We don't pick the police chief for any given city. Not on the federal level. That comes from the city level. That comes from whoever the people of that city actually elect to represent them. I believe in local control. Same thing, I live in Texas too. And baby, I wish I didn't have to deal with Governor Greg Abbott, but local control dictates that he is the governor of our state. And therefore, we have state reps, we have state senators, and we have a governor, and we have county elected officials and city elected officials. We are sitting in Washington, D.C. right now. We are on the federal level. So what I believe in is something that the Republicans used to scream, which is local control. So when we're having a conversation and a hearing about the human toll, the title specifically is the human toll of sanctuary policies, stories from victims and families, my deal is we aren't the ones that decide what cities do. So what they've decided to do is they've decided to play on your pain. And that is why I am frustrated. Because hear me when I say this. I have seen people, whether it was an American citizen or not, that killed your child or harmed your child, I believe it's wrong. To me, it wouldn't have made it any less painful. And I could be wrong, again, because I don't have any kids. But if for some reason it had been a U.S. citizen that ended up harming or killing your child, the pain would still be there. It would still hurt. So the reality is that what we need to do is make sure we are protecting everybody in this country. I don't wake up and somehow people look and see that there's a D somewhere around my head or something, and so therefore I am going to somehow be precluded from harm becoming me. When I go out to do policy work, and I've worked on the state level too, the policies that I was writing when I was on the state level are different from the federal level because we have different levels of control. The one thing that we do have control of, you may have recognized that the DHS secretary, as we're talking about immigration, she had to come before this committee I want to say maybe a day or two after she came before our committee, because we have jurisdiction over her. We don't have jurisdiction over your mayors. We have jurisdiction over her. She lost her job. The DHS secretary is gone. Now, to be clear about this, the Republican president is the one that put her out of her job because she was failing. So the reason that my colleagues have brought these things up, and this isn't to say that the harm and the hurt that you are feeling, that you should not be feeling that. It is wrong. Again, even as a criminal defense attorney, I can't tell you how many times I was begging clients to enter pleas. In fact, it literally made me remember a case that I had with a guy who was a veteran. He had served this country. He ended up being put on some new medication, and he also ended up drinking with that medication. Now, the medication had a warning on the bottle. But he went out, he drove, and he killed someone's mother. That client told me he had no criminal history. He told me over and over and over, he said, just give me whatever they're gonna give me. They offered him the max, which was 20 years, and I could not in good conscience, knowing that a jury would not give him the max. The only reason we went to trial is because the prosecutor wanted to be so greedy. That jury did not give him 20. He was willing to take 15 years. I am here to tell you that it is never right to break any of our laws. So the reason that we have gone down the line and the reason that we brought Mr. Romanucci is because we actually have control over CBP and DHS. It's just, and ICE. It's just that these guys don't want to exacerbate, use that control. They sit there and they allow U.S. citizens and non-U.S. citizens to have the rights violated, and that is something within our purview. If I lived in one of your cities, in fact, I am in Dallas. Dallas has a Republican mayor. To be a sanctuary city doesn't necessarily mean that you provide sanctuary. It means that you're not going to do the federal government's job. That's what it means. They are local law enforcement. And what it means is that they are not going to sit there and do the job of federal agents. That is what a sanctuary city means. But to be clear, again, and I have more articles, the city of Houston was not, when you talk about someone being a sanctuary city, it is an official policy that they are following. It can't be that it's one person. It's the official policy of the city. Otherwise, it doesn't work if it's just one person. I will yield. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for your indulgence.
It is quite interesting, Michael. She makes a great point, and I would say it many times as well. Yeah, these Republicans love local control, except when they are not in control.
Oh, absolutely. They flip-flop and change all the time. They yelled for years states' rights, 10th Amendment of the U.S. Constitution. Then when it's not to their advantage, now they want the federal government to hold up funding to the states. They want to the federal government to take over voting, control over the voting from certain states. Okay, what happened to states' rights? So, and the other thing that I find interesting is when it comes down to cracking down on undocumented immigrants, I find that the federal government doesn't want to harshly penalize the corporations that employ the undocumented immigrants. I mean, consistently. Something that's severe. I find that very interesting. You want to demonize those who come to this country, and oftentimes what gets left out is many undocumented immigrants are coming from countries that are negatively impacted by foreign policy that the U.S. has implemented to those foreign countries, helping to create the conditions that they flee from. But I noticed that the corporations that employ them don't get penalized like they should.
You know, that particular point, Candace, is very interesting because, you know, we had a system and the corporations didn't want to abide by it because they wanted the cheap labor. And see, and that's what folks don't want to deal with. I mean, listen, the Nebraska governor, when they were having the raids on farms around the country, he calls Trump and says, yo, can y'all chill? I've lost 6% of my state GDP. these farmers were complaining, oh, we don't have people picking the crop. Well, guess what? Y'all voted for this. And so folk have to recognize, like, you can't sit here and try to have it both ways. Like, I just, so what is it? So Caitlyn Jenner is now angry because she can't fly out of the country because they changed, her passport is changed to a he. You voted for Trump. You can't say I voted for a little bit. No, it all came with it.
Yeah, it's like saying you're pregnant just a little bit. Either you're pregnant or you're not, right? You know, one of the things that's interesting is that we just got a lesson, as we often do, in civics and how the government is supposed to work. But like you were saying before, when it comes to abortion, for example, we know that the states have a lot of control. When it comes to things that make sense for the Republicans, that's when that local control becomes really, really important. But it's really just performative. And this is what we know. And this is what Jasmine Crockett was arguing and talking about to make that point that, you know, when we talk about local control, that is something that it's the law. It's a hierarchy that has been around for hundreds of years. It is something that by the process of creating precedent, now you have the Republicans and anybody else who feels like it, because in this day and age, we're in the day and age of just say and do anything. But all of that lays down the groundwork for precedent for more and more of that to come. So you have to get in there and stop this performative behavior and make sure that people understand how the government has been working, how the government does work right now, and it maybe doesn't work for the good of all, but we do have local zoning, local ordinance, local mayors, local council for a reason. And it is because of this, so that they can have control. How can the government control every single town, every single municipality to begin with anyway? It's something that we have seen them do already in terms of the Department of Homeland Security and ICE and seeing things of that nature to go into different states. Look how that worked out. What are they going to do by managing hundreds and thousands of municipalities and towns and cities across the country? It is just an unworkable, silly idea.
All right, going to go to break. We're going to come back to what's happened on Capitol Hill. Congresswoman Terry Sewell really going off on RFK. Also, Congresswoman Ayanna Pressley getting her bill passed regarding the temporary protected status for Haitians. So, but coming up next, we're going to chat with Morgan Harper. A California jury rules against Ticketmaster and Live Nation after they cut a deal with the Trump administration. We're going to talk about how it's going to impact your pocket. It's next, right here on Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network. Support the work that we do. Join our Bring the Funk fan club. Listen, y'all, we have the discussions that other people don't have. We have the discussions other people don't want to have. And so we can talk about why we need black-owned media, but we can't say we need black-owned media if we don't support black-owned media. And so your support is critical. If you want to support us via Cash App, with Stripe QR code, you see it right here. That's for credit cards as well. Checks and money order, make it payable to Roland Martin Unfiltered, P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C., 2003 7-0196. PayPal's R Martin Unfiltered, Venmo RM Unfiltered, Zelle, Roland at RolandSMartin.com, Roland at RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. We'll be right back.
MAGA Republicans ended diversity programs, cut funding for black students, and fired federal employees. And they won't stop there. Now, they've redrawn congressional maps so that they can rig the November elections. But we have the power to stop them. By voting yes for fair elections, we have the final say on who represents us in Congress. This is a temporary measure to restore fairness. They are not backing down, and neither can we. Make a plan to vote by April 21st and vote yes for fair elections.
I'm Ryan Wilson, CEO and co-founder of The Gathering Spot, and you're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network.
Well, folks, Donald Trump cut a deal with Ticketmaster and Live Nation. Well, they cut them a big check before the deal came, but they forgot that there was this little trial happening in California. So you had that, and so guess what? A federal jury has ruled that Ticketmaster and its parent company, Live Nation, have been operating an illegal monopoly, stifling competition and overcharging consumers. The jury ruled in favor of 33 states and Washington, D.C., finding that Live Nation controlled too many aspects of live entertainment, including concert venues, ticketing services, and artist management. Morgan Harper, the Director of Policy and Advocacy at the American Economic Liberties Project, joins us right now. And so, Morgan, so what's interesting with this trial Ticketmaster's like, oh, this is not the end of it. This is, they thought that by cutting a check to Trump and his folks was going to end this whole deal. They were in for a rude awakening when the jury came back.
Yeah, they forgot about this whole principle called federalism, that we have these states that they couldn't just negotiate away. And so this was a really interesting case in that, the trial started in March, and then just days into it, the judge found out at the same time that the lawyer for the Department of Justice found out that there was some kind of deal. So the DOJ lawyer wasn't able to provide any details about it, and it was clear what had happened, that the White House had interfered and said that they have to settle the federal case with Live Nation Ticketmaster. So then there was a real decision point. Do the state AGs, and there were over 30 of them that had signed on to this lawsuit, continue with the case and a trial kind of in the last minute, or do they also fold? And the state attorneys general, thank goodness, said, you know what, we've got this. We're going to hire our own outside counsel and get this thing all the way through to a jury. And now you're right. So we had this federal jury, Southern District of New York, that ruled against on all counts and found that indeed Live Nation is a monopoly.
And what we're talking about here is they're controlling tickets, they control venues, it's pricing, the massive fees, and also let's keep in mind, it was the Biden-Harris administration that targeted these hidden fees. Trump folks come in, they get rid of that stuff. So the reason people are paying $300 and $400 and $500 for tickets is because of all these fees that are inside of these tickets.
Yeah, essentially what's happened is when Live Nation and Ticketmaster were allowed to combine, then we had one company that was controlling not only ticketing through Ticketmaster and dominant in that, they also control a lot of the venues where big concerts happen throughout the country. And so they would kind of say to these venues, if you're not willing to use Ticketmaster, then you're not going to get the tours that are going to bring the most people to your venue. What's the average venue owner going to do? They're going to play ball to keep Ticketmaster and keep these tours coming to their venues. So yeah, so all of this has been able to take money away from independent venues in particular. It's made all of us as consumers have to pay more in costs. And then it ultimately is taking a lot of money away from the artists, the creatives who are creating the product here, who want to be on tour. It really limits their options, and then they have to give a cut to the big giant, which is Live Nation Ticketmaster too.
And so the judge is going to determine what the remedies are going to be. 2 years ago, again, the Biden-Harris Justice Department, they wanted Live Nation Ticketmaster broken up. That's still on the table.
That is very much on the table. And I'm glad you mentioned that the Biden-Harris administration brought this case, because a funny thing that's happened this week is the amnesia of the Trump appointees. We had the former Trump head of the DOJ that got kicked out recently, trying to claim on Twitter that she was the one responsible for this, and she was so happy that this case was brought by the DOJ. This was filed in 2024 by the Biden Department of Justice, led by Jonathan Cantor. It came after hundreds of thousands of people around the country through a coalition we ran at American Economic Liberties Project called Break Up Ticketmaster happened. And yes, the demand of that campaign was breaking up the company. Those were the types of remedies that the DOJ was alluding to in the case, and that ultimately the judge could rule would happen and force the divestiture. So force that Live Nation will have to sell Ticketmaster, for example. They would no longer be able to control all these different parts of the live events industry.
Questions from the panel. Candace, you first.
So I understand that maybe $1.72 might go back to any particular consumer. But what's going to happen in the future? I mean, I know it's going to be very difficult to break this up and anybody to see any particular outcome from this in terms of ticket prices. But what is a timeline like in terms of dismantling this monopoly?
Yeah, great question. I mean, we still have a lot of road ahead of us here because, like Roland mentioned, we were just talking about, the judge is going to have to pretty much do a whole new trial here, just focused on determining what the remedies, how the company might have to change to get rid of this monopoly, which the jury has found to be in place. And so they're going to have to, both parties, Live Nation and the state attorneys generals, are going to have to brief the court on what remedies they want to see happen. It seems almost impossible to imagine that the state AGs would be asking for anything but a breakup, but that Live Nation would have to start selling parts of its company. But we'll see. And then the judge will have to take all of that evidence and decide how he wants to resolve this monopoly. And, another thing I would mention there is there was the Google case recently in the past year or so where Google was found to be engaging in monopolistic conduct, but then the judge in that case in a DC court went very weak on remedies and didn't really force any change to Google's business model. And so that's a possibility here, but this judge in the Southern District of New York has already proven himself to be pretty clear on, when Live Nation, Ticketmaster is trying to pull a fast one on him like they did with this settlement out of nowhere and the state AGs didn't have information on. So I think there's room for a little bit more optimism, but it could take a couple more years even.
Michael.
Yeah, Morgan, my question was kind of along the same line as Candace. I was looking at, okay, so what do we potentially see the promotion venue, the concert ticket selling arena looking like on the other side of this case after all the dust has settled? And what does this look like for promoters? Okay, because I used to work for a radio station here, knew a lot of promoters. And what does that look like for smaller African-American promoters when they're trying to sell out venues? How would this possibly be beneficial for them?
Yeah, this case could transform the whole industry. And so that would look like now we're already probably finding if folks try to go to concerts, you're likely to be doing that transaction on Ticketmaster. It's not because whatever venue you're going to just loves Ticketmaster, like I was describing before. It's because they're more or less forced into using Ticketmaster and all the fees and the higher prices that we end up paying. In a world where Live Nation no longer owns Ticketmaster, then we could see more ticketing companies that are able to compete and offer not only cheaper prices with fewer fees, but imagine a better product, right? It's not like Ticketmaster is such an amazing platform that we all love. It's just that it's the big game in town. So you could have one that has a better app, better functionality, that we could see a Black entrepreneur that develops one of those companies and then is able to actually get the kind of contracts that allow their company to grow. Right now, none of that is possible because of Live Nation, Ticketmaster's monopoly. And the same with promotion. I mean, promoters have pretty much been kicked out of the market because Live Nation has also made it, they have a promotion company too. So it's been really hard for independent promoters to operate in this environment as well. That would allow, again, bring competition back into the market. Promoters of all sizes, especially those that have some of the local relationships, know these venue owners directly, might be able to maintain a business again and even build a business.
And again, when you look at concert venues, it's either Live Nation or AEG that controls nearly every concert venue in the country. And that prevents people from being able to, frankly, get the best price when they have a monopoly on venues.
Exactly. And, I'm glad you mentioned AEG because in 2010, when the government allowed Live Nation, Ticketmaster to merge, that was part of the deal. Is like, oh, well, there's AEG, we'll give them a couple venues and then that'll be enough competition. And that has proven to be a complete lie and delusion even. And so that is what has brought us to this point, is only a breakup will do. This jury verdict is a big deal. But without a breakup of the company and getting rid of this entanglement of Live Nation with Ticketmaster, with ticketing and promoting and owning venues, then we will not see any changes. And that's certainly not what a jury communicated to the judge should happen. And now it's in the judge's hands to decide what happens to this market and ultimately to what we all end up paying.
All right. Morgan Harper, we appreciate it. Thanks a lot. Folks, at Capitol Hill, Secretary of Health and Human Services Robert Kennedy Jr., he testified, and let's just say he got a little chippy when Alabama Congresswoman Terry Sewell reminded him of some things that he had to say about black kids.
Terry, you've made a number of outlandish and frankly disturbing comments both before and during your tenure as Secretary of Health and Human Services. I want to draw your attention to one of those times. In a 2024 podcast interview, you suggested that black children on ADHD medication should be reparented. You said every black kid is now just standardly put on Adderall, SSRI, benzos, which are known to induce violence, and that those children are going to have to go somewhere to get reparented. There is a lot to unpack in that comment. I know that you've already answered several of the questions I was going to ask, and so I'm just going to rephrase them. Mr. Secretary, you've already admitted that you are not board-certified physician, and you've already admitted that you did not go to medical school. Have you ever reparented, or parented, I should say, a black child?
I don't even know what that phrase means, and I doubt
just
that
a yes
I said
or no
it.
answer.
I doubt that I said that phrase. No,
absolutely
I'm not going to answer something that I didn't say.
You absolutely said it.
Oh, I'd like to hear the recording.
So to be
Because
clear,
it doesn't make
sir,
any sense.
I'm
I don't even know
reclaim
what
my
it
time.
means.
I don't either. That's why I'm asking.
And by the way,
so to be clear, you're not a doctor, you have no medical degree, and you have no formal medical training. You have never parented a black child.
24 of the 26 HHS secretaries have not had medical
This is my time. And I say to the chairman, I want to reclaim my time. So you are not a doctor, have no formal medical training, and you've never parented a black child, and yet you are suggesting that the federal government should take black children away from their families and reparent them and send them off to some wellness farm instead of providing them with evidence-based
You're just making stuff up.
I am absolutely not making this up. Mr. Secretary, in your opinion, what factors should the federal government consider when reparenting a black child who has been on ADHD or ADD?
I don't even know what you're talking about, Congressman. I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know what reparenting even means.
I don't either, but you said that.
I did not say
Mr. Secretary, for black families in the United States, the issue of family separation is not new. Our nation has a long and painful history of separating black children from their families. During slavery, black children were taken from their parents and sold with no regard for their humanity. And after slavery, black families continued to face forced separations through Jim Crow laws, discriminatory policing, and child welfare systems that too often assumed that black parents were unfit. Even today, black children are removed from their homes at higher rates than white children, not because of their greater harm, but because of longstanding bias and built-in institutionalism. For you to suggest that black families are not capable of raising their own children is deeply offensive. Sir, you are the Secretary of Health and Human Services for the world's most powerful country, and your words matter. When you suggest that reparenting black children, when you sow doubt about the safety of vaccines, and when you promote unproven statements that have no basis in science, you endanger the lives of everyone across this nation. Those children have parents, and to suggest that they have to be reparented is offensive.
I never suggested that.
Your words matter. When those words are careless, communities pay the price. When your words are imprecise, they create confusion. And when your words are dismissive, they cause real harm. So you don't have the pleasure, because of your position, to speak first and think later. Not in this job and not because of your responsibility.
I supposedly said in 2014.
And the American people expect that you choose your words with sincereness and with seriousness, the seriousness that your position demands. American lives are at stake, and it's time that you start acting like it, sir.
Well, now, I don't think he quite expected that ass whooping, Candace.
Well, now, I think you're right. let's talk about the fact that this was a man who admittedly sniffed cocaine off of a dirty toilet seat, according to him. That's how bad and deep he was into drugs. But for someone who's been into drugs for so long, he doesn't know how they work. I mean, look, Adderall, first of all, it doesn't create violent behavior to begin with. It calms you. If you know anything about drugs, I mean, just even the content of what he said was wrong. Of course, the content of what he says was racist. And in order to fight for democracy, you have to remember what you said. You know, he's just an embarrassment, absolutely making no sense. And like you said, this was an ass whooping that he did not expect to get. And this was something that he could not even defend himself for, claiming that he did not remember it. Are you kidding me? Someone in that position, like you said, your words, like she said, your words carry more weight when you hold that position of power. And unfortunately, this is a type of weight that is going to weigh him down.
I don't remember that, Michael. I don't remember that. Yeah, because you probably got a worm, and that worm is still in your brain.
Right. Yeah. You know, I mean, this Saturday Night Live skit just writes itself. I mean, this is ridiculous. So the comments were apparently made on the 2024 podcast of Earn Your Leisure, where he made these comments, and it implies that African American children need to be taken away from their parents, reparented. He comes up with these conspiracy theories. But then also, when you talk about the black children on drugs and things like this, that reminds me of the excited delirium theory that's been associated historically with African-American men, especially when they're on cocaine or something like that. So these are the people who Donald Trump selected, the guy who said he knows all the best people. And you had white mothers who voted for Trump because of what they call MAHA, Make America Healthy Again. I don't know how this obese, degenerate, unhealthy person that has a diet of McDonald's and Kentucky Fried Chicken is going to help America be healthy again. But, you know, these are the consequences of elections.
Yep, and you get crazy people in the office. Also, what happened this week was Congresswoman Ayanna Pressley moved forward the discharge petition that would extend the temporary protected status to Haitians. 10 Republicans crossed the aisle to vote with Republicans. Now, it's not expected to pass the Senate. Of course, if it does, Donald Trump can always veto it. But the real thing here, which I think is important, is that you got 10 Republicans who are in some shaky districts, Michael, and they see what's going on. They know, oh, we about to be in trouble. And listen, we played the clip when Ohio Governor Mike DeWine was on Face the Nation. He talked about how critically important those Haitian immigrants were to the economy in Springfield, Ohio, and how they filled jobs and how they were hard workers contributing to the tax base, buying homes as well. And the fact of the matter is this here, and this is what people need to understand, especially all y'all black people who are sitting here trying to pose, ooh, Donald Trump named a black woman to the CDC. See, he cares about black people. No, he don't. No, he don't. Donald Trump and Stephen Miller, they want white immigrants in America. They want to get rid of all black immigrants. They only want white people. That's what this is all about.
Yeah, and not only do they only want white immigrants, what those people who think Donald Trump cares about black people don't understand is that Donald Trump and Stephen Miller and a lot of these white supremacist, white nationalists, they think that all non-white people in America are immigrants, including black people. They think we don't belong. They think if you actually study them, and study the language that they use. This is why they're attacking African-American history. This is why they're attacking the Smithsonian African-American Museum. This is why they're attacking diversity, equity, and inclusion. As recently as yesterday, you look at the settlement that IBM, $17 million settlement they did with the Department of Justice because of their DEI initiatives and programs, but no court has ruled that DEI is illegal. So it's good that this passed the House. Last I saw is about 520,000 Haitians have temporary protective status. We know one of the platforms of Junior Varsity Vance and Donald Trump in the 2024 election was lying saying that Haitians in Springfield, Ohio were eating the dogs and cats, but these black people helped to rejuvenate Springfield, Ohio, and they were invited in as well. And keep in mind that we talked about this a few weeks ago, there's a travel advisory right now on the State Department's website to Haiti telling Americans don't travel to Haiti, okay, because of violence, because of gangs, but you want to send these Haitians back to Haiti. That's stupid.
Well, you know Donald Trump can't read. You know that. I don't even know why. I don't even know why. I don't know why you even acting like that's what's going on. You know they can't read. They got to give him everything in pictures because he is not the brightest bulb in a dark room. But again, I just need people to understand what's going on here. And what we're dealing with is we're dealing with a racist administration that only wants white people in this country. That is what they want. That is what they desire. It is abundantly clear what they are trying to do. And so I just think people need to just to understand what is at play here with this administration. This is the games that they play. All right, folks. Actually, let's do this here. Let's go ahead and do Black Star Network headlines with Brittany Noble right now.
Singer David, whose legal name is David Burke, has been arrested by the Los Angeles Police Department in connection with the death of 14-year-old Celeste Rivas. The 21-year-old is currently being held without bail, and the case is set to be presented to the district attorney's office on Monday to determine whether charges will be filed. Earlier this year, a grand jury investigation began that identified Burke as a target, but prosecutors are still reviewing the evidence. Authorities have acknowledged facing public pressure to act quickly, but emphasized the importance of building what they described as an airtight case. Meanwhile, Burke's attorneys maintain his innocence, asserting that there is no evidence linking him to the teen's death and that no formal charges have been filed. Former player and assistant coach Damon Jones is expected to become the first person to plead guilty to federal gambling charges. But earlier this year, federal prosecutors conducted a large-scale investigation into sports betting. Well, they involved several NBA players and coaches and resulted in the arrest of more than 30 individuals. Jones had initially pleaded not guilty to indictments that accuse him of profiting from rigged poker games and providing sports bettors with confidential information about player injuries, including those of LeBron James and Anthony Davis. Now, a heartbreaking story, this one out of Atlanta. A 34-year-old mom of two who was pregnant with her third child was shot and killed while driving home from work. Police report that Bianca Huntley was navigating through rush hour traffic on Interstate 75 near the Atlanta airport when the shooting occurred. Her family claims that she had attempted to exit the vehicle and even dial 911. But when police got there, they found her SUV in the median with the turn signal still blinking. Huntley's mother believes that this was not a random act of road rage, requesting that her daughter may have been targeted. She's now urging anyone with information to please step forward. The city of Boston has its first Black commissioner in the department's 350-year history. Rodney Marshall, who served in the department for 35 years, will officially be sworn into office later this month. Marshall joined the fire department in 1991 and has steadily risen through the ranks over the years. He was recognized by the department in 1998 for saving multiple lives during a 6-alarm fire. He received another commendation in 2013 for his efforts in rescuing people that were trapped in a bus. Well, this weekend, 500 copies of Toni Morrison's books will be given away for free to shoppers at Cleveland's historic West Side Market. The organization Literary Cleveland will distribute 3 of Morrison's novels on Saturday, The Bluest Eyes, Sula, and Beloved. This giveaway is part of a year-long initiative to honor Morrison, the Pulitzer Prize-winning novelist who passed away in 2019 in her home state of Ohio. Well, in Washington, D.C., the National Association of Real Estate Brokers is kicking off an 8-city bus tour later this month to address housing affordability solutions in Black communities all across the country. Currently, home ownership rates for Black Americans are significantly lower than those for white Americans, with only 44% of Black families owning homes compared to 75% of white families. This disparity is impacting future generations as well. Only 33% of Black millennials are homeowners, in contrast to 65% of their white peers. The NAREB bus tour will make stops in Philadelphia, Baltimore, Detroit, Gary, Kansas City, Memphis, Little Rock, Arkansas, and Tulsa. Roland, back to you.
Folks, I keep telling y'all how Republicans are desperately trying to get people not to vote. And it's unbelievable. So, they passed a bill in Indiana that says that students can't use their ID. On Tuesday, a federal judge actually blocked that. And the judge basically said, hold up, y'all passed a bill this is what it says. This guy, Mike Young, posted this. Federal Judge Richard L. Young blocked it Tuesday. His language was pointed and precise. SB 10 looks more like a solution in search of a problem. 40,000 Indiana students would have been affected. It said they found these students are significantly less likely than other voters to carry driver's licenses or other qualifying ID. The judge said there's no evidence that student IDs have been used to engage in voter fraud or any other voting-related misconduct. Like, this is what they are doing. Then it says the Republican National Committee stepped in to defend the ban in court filings, arguing it was a neutral policy choice. The judge said, nah, it ain't neutral. He found that eliminating the one ID category most relied on by young voters imposed an unconstitutional burden. This is about, Michael, we keep telling people, if you can shave off 1,000, 5,000, 10,000, 20,000, 30,000, 40,000, you're guaranteed to win. That's their strategy.
Yeah, Roland, that's what it is. That's why, even though I know there's talk, actually I watched Jasmine Crockett's live social media broadcast a few nights ago, earlier this week. And one of the questions was, will Trump stop the midterm elections? And one of the things she was saying is he doesn't have to stop the midterm elections. They would just implement various voter suppression tactics, right? So when we look at trying to ban the type of student IDs or restrict the type of student IDs that can be used, or saying that students can't use IDs to vote, right? We had this conversation back in 2021. When we were trying to get the John Lewis Voting Rights Act passed, if I remember correctly, 2021. And one of the things that we talked about here on this show is you have to expand the conversation from just Black people being impacted by voting restrictions. You have to talk about college students, white college students, okay? And this is an example of this, right? So I'm glad this was defeated, but we have to understand that all they have to do is shave off a few percentage points, and then they maintain power in the House and the Senate. So this is a real fight that we are engaged in right now. And this is about power.
Yeah, and again, what's crazy is a state institution, that's a state ID.
Exactly. That's exactly what I was going to say. We're done here. It's like it is the government. When you work for the state, you work for the government. So if you're accepting passports, if you're accepting driver's license, why aren't you accepting a student ID? I got stopped by the police the other day. He allowed me to show my ID from my university. Don't ask me how it happened, and he let me go, but it was a good day. But it's a state ID, and he recognized that. So what you're saying is right. And even though, this is going to be appealed, it's not going to work, simply because, as you talked about, it falls kind of disproportionately on one group of people who might use their student ID more than anything else, right? A lot of people can't even afford cars, let alone have a driver's license. So I don't think that anything is going to happen here, and we already have an indication of that in terms of the decision that was already made. But it is a government ID. It's all from the same umbrella.
Folks, going to a break. When we come back, case out of Cook County. 23-year-old Black man kills his 51-year-old mother and kills himself. Another murder-suicide. That took place on Tuesday. Murder-suicide of Justin Fairfax, killing his wife, Serena Fairfax, took place on Wednesday. What is going on? How do we protect Black women from men who choose to kill them or even beat them? We'll talk about those plus two other stories that are tied to this next on Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network.
Why does it feel like we're going backward? Voting rights under attack, schools stripped of funding, black history erased. This is the Trump MAGA agenda. They want to take us back. They are redrawing congressional lines in states across the country, deciding who gets power and who gets silenced. We see what this is, a power grab. Virginians won't be fooled. Show up, vote, take back our power. It's a temporary measure that gives the people, not politicians, the final say. Vote yes by April 21st.
My name is Bill Duke, and you're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered.
Folks, yesterday we did the tragic story of former Lieutenant Governor of Virginia, Justin Fairfax, committing murder-suicide against his wife, Serena Fairfax. He shot her several times. It was a heinous crime that resulted, again, in her murder at the hands of her husband. Well, after the show, a number of people sent me a story that we had not seen from Chicago, where a murder-suicide there took place on Tuesday. The son of the late Cook County Commissioner, Dennis Deere, killed his mother and then himself. Again, another murder-suicide. According to Chicago police, 23-year-old Caleb shot his 51-year-old mother, Barbara Deere, 3 times before shooting himself in the head. Now, Dennis Deere died from complications from a double lung transplant in 2024. According to folks in Chicago and different reports, Caleb was still dealing with the after effects of his dad's death. Last week, we told you the story of the sister in Florida, Vice Mayor, who was killed by her husband. He was arrested and charged for murder. You also have the story of the black influencer who was found dead in Zanzibar, and they're investigating her fiance. With these stories, what you have seen, what you have heard, is a significant amount of anger and pain and distrust from black women saying we must be protected. When you talk about husbands, we talk about being a protector, being a provider. But when husbands take the lives of their wives, that's not protecting. The question then becomes, how do we deal with this? There are a number of people who are expressing anger, outrage, upset by what has taken place. The conversations have been heated, have been emotional. But the question comes down to, how do we change this? How do we, as a community, as a society, confront the reality that 96% of domestic violence cases are being committed by men? How do we deal? How do we confront? How do we change abusive behavior of men against women? Black men against black women? Now, the reason I understand domestic violence, because I know what it's like to have a sister who calls you and flees to your home, afraid of her life and those of her 2 children. I lived that experience, lived it, dealing with my sister and her 2 kids. Cousins physically abused. And so when these things happen, first of all, sister's husband, he's sitting in prison. When these things happen, how do we confront it? How do we deal with the grief in the aftermath? And how do we then say change behavior? So we had a conversation last night with a couple of brothers. Tonight, Dr. Monique Swift. She is the new president of the Association of Black Psychologists. She joins us right now. Dr. Swift, what's very interesting to me is that I made some posts on Instagram. We even posted a couple of the clips from last night. And several people said, why are we having a mental health conversation we should be having a domestic violence conversation. My response was, we have to deal with what's happening in a person's head that leads them to commit domestic violence. Typically, when we have domestic violence conversations, we're talking about how a person needs to retreat, how they need to leave the home, how they need to flee. Well, that's, again, responding after something has happened. But the question I'm posing to you first is, how do you see us confronting this issue? 4 cases in 2 weeks of Black women murdered by men in their lives, 2 of them Black husbands, 1 a Black son, and we don't know the outcome, what happened in the case of the white man in Zanzibar.
Yes, sir. Brother Roland, firstly, thank you. Thank you for having this conversation this evening. Thank you for inviting me to be a part of the conversation. What you're talking about is very serious and is far more pervasive than these 4 cases that you've cited. And so I think when we look at this, we need to look at it from that broader lens and not just look at the heinous atrocities that happen to these individuals. And that's to know, not to shade what happened to them in any mitigating kind of a way at all. But there's something more pervasive and very insidious that's happening. There's a pattern happening here within our community. There was once a time where women were, they were in an honored position in our history, in our traditional African-centered way of being. And that is shifted. That's no longer the case. There's something happening between where we were and where we are. And there's a lot in that gap. And so we can sit and kind of focus on all of the personal, the personal matters surrounding these incidents. But I do think we would be wise to, again, look more broadly at we are socially, we are breaking, right? We are breaking under pressure of the not being recognized in this country. The racism is at an all-time high. You talked about the racist administration in the last segment. We are, jobs are hard to come by for many of us. There's a lot of stress in the home. There's stress in society. People are under the stress. And what was once protective for Black people, right? Us with one another, we are now turning against one another under this pressure. And so there's a lot of different facets to what we're talking about, what we're seeing here.
How do you respond? And I've had sisters say this to me. And first of all, I've gotten responses for a wide variety of people. After last night's show, I woke up and a number of men text and email said, I needed to hear that because I need to do a better job of checking on my brothers. I had sisters hitting me as well. I had others who said that, well, we should not be talking about what Justin Fairfax was dealing with and going through. We should be centering his wife, Serena Fairfax, and we should be having the focus on her. Others said, well, he's a murderer, and so we shouldn't be talking about him. We should be talking about her being murdered. My response was, I don't want there to be more murders. I don't want there to be more folks beaten. And so if we're going to confront murder-suicides and sisters feeling unprotected, then we're going to have to understand what the hell is going on with these men, which requires us to analyze what is going through their minds. What are they dealing with that's resulting in the heinous actions that ends in beatings, breaking black eyes, breaking of body parts, or death, murder?
Yeah, I would agree with you. You can't have the conversation about one without having the conversation about the other. And, frankly, the truth is hurt people hurt people. So the unpopular part of this conversation is recognizing that these people that are committing these heinous crimes, that are harming women in the way they are, often themselves are hurt people. And we don't want to look at that because we don't want to have the empathy. We don't want to see the humanness of these people. And so we just want to focus on where the harm is. And again, I'm not putting one above the other by no stretch of the imagination. My heart goes out to the sisters that have been harmed and killed in these situations, and then all of those who love these women. But I think you make a very valid point, Brother Roland, that how do you talk about what happened to this woman without talking about why did what happened to this woman happen? And the why is in the it's in the mind of these men. But again, broadly, I think there's a social condition that we're seeing here, right? The trauma is real. And often these people who are doing these things, they have experienced trauma. And as I said, hurt people, and the cycle continues.
So with that, there were sisters telling me on social media posts, why are you having a mental health conversation when this was domestic violence? Look, you're the expert. And my response was, the person that commits domestic violence or femicide or murder, that's mental. Something was going on up here, because that's not a normal thing. It is not normal for a man to beat his wife, girlfriend. It's not normal for a man to pick a gun up and murder his wife. And I said, you have to deal, because something here caused that to happen. So that is mental. And so I wasn't understanding when people were saying it's one or the other, when I said they actually have to go together. Your assessment?
Yeah, I frankly, I don't quite understand either. It is domestic violence is mental. There's a mental health component to that, right? Why are people being violent toward one another? There's something going on when people are acting in ways that are out of the ordinary, right? When behavior is extreme, we're looking at mental health conditions. We're looking at mental stress or distress, right? And so I really can't necessarily respond to those who are not kind of making that connection. What might they be, how they're thinking about this? Perhaps they want to focus more on and have more compassion for the victims of these situations, and just and view the mental health conversation as evoking perhaps too much empathy. And we don't want to feel for this other person. We don't want to see them.
I actually got that. Folks, let's say he's a monster, he was evil, and you're portraying him as the victim. I said, no, I'm not. I literally said, listen, my desire is I don't want to see any sister murdered. I don't want to see any sister who's beaten. I said, so in order for us to live in that world, if 96% of all domestic violence cases are involving men, I want that to be 80, 70, 60, 50, 40, 30, 0. And so for me, I said the only way how I see confronting or dealing with this story is I have to get in the minds of these brothers to understand why they're pissed off, why they're angry, why they snap, what's going on from childhood to present day, getting them to understand that your wallet or the size of your paycheck does not determine whether you're a man. I said there are a plethora of things that we have to deal with, and I had, and one very prominent activist said, well, Roland, we need a beat. I said, sister, you just told me that a black woman was shot and killed by her husband last week, the sister in Florida. Then the case in Zanzibar. Then the case in Cook County. I said, then the murder-suicide of Justice Fairfax against Dr. Serena Fairfax on Wednesday. I said, how long am I supposed to wait? I said, I'm trying to make sure we don't have another case. And so that, and again, it's not me personally, but I'm hearing from other brothers and sisters who are saying, we don't want there to be any murder. So the question then becomes, what do we do? Do we sit in our grief, or do we say, hey, while there are those who are grieving, those of us who are also grieving are also saying, how can we begin to tap into the minds of the individuals who are causing the harm so they don't cause the harm.
Right. And then, so there's that, right? Tapping into the mind, find out what's going on. As all that you said, what pushed them over the edge? What are the stressors that they're dealing with, right? But again, this is not just an individual level thing. We have to look at it broadly. But just even from this perspective that you're speaking about, I think taking it even one step further that many people are somewhat adverse to is now that we understand a bit about the circumstances around why this person did what they did, how now do we repair, right? How now do we bring this back together? And I'm a strong proponent of restorative practice. And so that involves bringing those who harmed together with those who were harmed, right?
But aren't we trying to make sure that they don't harm? That we're trying to actually, we don't want them to harm. So the thing is, how do we catch something? A sister told me she was in Jamaica and they were by the pool, and she said his big brother slapped his girlfriend, threw her phone in the pool, and she was angry because the other brothers who were there with their girlfriends did nothing. And she says, Roland, I'm afraid. She says, I'm always looking at an exit strategy. What happens when a man is getting mad because I don't give him my phone number? She said, I'm not feeling protected. And what I said to her, I said, what you just told me tells me that first, those brothers who were sitting there and who watched it, they've seen his anger before, and they said nothing. And for whatever reason, they chose to say, y'all, I ain't getting involved in that. I said, when what we actually need are brothers to say, bruh, let me holler at you. No, walk away with me. What are you doing? Why are you getting upset? Because that trigger, we got to understand, why did this thing cause you to get violent, which then could result, oh yeah, today you slapped her, but tomorrow you could kill her.
Absolutely. You know, you remind me of a study that Dr. Joy DeGruy spoke about in her book, Post-Traumatic Slave Syndrome, when she was looking at violence. And she did a study with people who hadn't been in prison for violent acts. And she looked at various factors that could contribute to it to find out what pushed people to the point of committing a violent act, from being angry to committing a violent act. And of all the things that she looked at, the thing that stood out the most, and she was looking at Black men, was disrespect, right? Now, I'm not saying that that's what happened in these instances, but what I am saying is that speaks to something deeper that's going on within someone, right? And this is not just a one person, right? These are many people that experience that. So there's something about the experience, most particularly of Black men in this society, that keeps them right there on the edge. That something like a scuff on their shoe or being embarrassed, whatever it might be, can push them over to the edge of being very violent and possibly even killing someone. What is going on? Now, we can sit here and point the finger of shame at all these Black men who are doing these things, and they should be shamed for doing what they've done. But again, I want to stress the point that there's something else happening, that there's a context that is creating the condition under which this violence is playing out. And that's what we need to look at. We need to look at the broader context. You talked about some of it in the past segment. I'm sure you talked about it in many previous shows as well. There's something going on. Something has happened in the lives of Black people in this country. From enslavement forward, we have been fractured. We have been broken in ways that cause us to not be able to see and even honor each other's humanity. And so now, instead of, a husband and wife being back to back and looking, having each other's back is what I'm trying to say. Now we become adversaries in this thing. So, you can't, the pool situation that you talked about, it makes me think about all these videos where someone's being brutalized, whether it be by a police officer, which is almost mostly the case, or someone else, and everyone pulls out a phone and just records it, right? What is going on in the minds of all of us as a society where we've desensitized ourselves to violence, to one another, because I can guarantee you, if the people who have their phone out and they're taking the video, if it was somebody that they loved, they would not respond that way.
Right.
So what happened caused us to be able to look at each other in a very distant way, as though we're not connected, as though we're not one people. There's something happening. There's something broken in our social network, is what I'm pointing out.
And when we're talking about, and panel, get ready, somebody come to y'all with questions after I ask this question to Dr. Swift. When I'm talking about how do we control emotions, how do we in the moment assess something? I was another sister who hit me today, and I was saying that if I'm at a dinner party and there's 6 or 8 of us there, let's say it's 4 couples, and all of a sudden the dude goes off over something dealing with the menu, and his wife or his girlfriend says something. I said, the other 6 people are likely to go completely quiet and just don't say anything. As opposed to a brother saying, yo, Bill, let me holler at you. And pull him aside, go outside, say, bro, I need you to calm down. But I need to understand, why'd you go off? It's a menu item. That's not significant. What made you yell at your woman, and now she's scared? Now the other people at the table are scared because you showed that flash of anger. And I think in these conversations, we literally have to teach people how to control emotions, how to deal with emotions, how to deal with setbacks. I think, and this is not for anybody watching. This is not making light of these cases we're talking about. But early in my marriage, I am very particular about my clothes. I got golf clothes, I got other stuff. So my dad taught all of us how to wash clothes. And so mama did too. So it was like light, dark, hot, cold, warm. So I got piles. So my wife decides to wash something and the pan shrunk. Now, Dr. Swift, I was like, why did you put these in the dryer on hot? I went.
It took everything in you, didn't Brother Roland?
I said, from now on, if you get the urge, because I have piles, I said, if you get the urge to wash something, just pick up one thing and look at the label. She's like, you got all these special clothes. I said, you know what, we good. I will wash my clothes. Now, mom and daddy taught us how to do that. Hell, I can wash her stuff too. She's like, well, I wash all my stuff together, it's fine. But the point is, because I was thinking about when you said a scuff on the shoe, that could have turned into a large argument. But I stopped to go, is it necessary to even have this argument? Is it that big? Or here's the solution to the problem. You ain't got to worry about it. I got this. Ain't had no. And she was like, cool, go ahead and wash your stuff. But the point is, I stopped myself from being upset about some pants that shrunk, came to a conclusion, came to a result, and said, this is how we gonna move forward.
Okay.
We have to teach folk those things.
Well, yes, you're right. Someone taught you, right? I could assume that you came from a home where perhaps you saw conflict being managed in healthy ways, right? Not everybody comes from that type of an environment.
Right.
And so, if I come from an environment where I'm always feeling triggered and threatened, right? Where I feel disrespected all the time, where I feel incompetent, or if I come from that type of an environment and that experience, sometimes something very little can be the world to me. And it's really something small to someone else. And so this is why, this is exactly going to your point earlier, why this is a mental health issue, right? This is not the ordinary way that most people would act under, certain circumstances. But I also want to look at the other piece, because you talked about the bystander, right? The person who seeing this and does nothing, right? What is going on in the mindset of that person? Often nowadays, people are afraid because I don't want to get involved because I don't want to get injured. I don't want to get harmed. And that's what people, or I can get sued if this or if that. Like, we're thinking about all these other things, but in the process of that, we're losing our humanity with each other. And so that's problematic. We've got to get that back together. We've got to get back together again as a family and see the humanness of one another. That's what is missing. That's what's missing in this equation. And so we become so individualized and so isolated from each other, where it's all just about me and, well, I don't want to get myself harmed, so I'm just going to let that happen to that person over there. It's a problem. It's a problem, and it's a population level problem. It's not just individuals. That's what I keep emphasizing here.
Folks, we're talking with Dr. Monique Swift. She is the president of the Association of Black Psychologists. Candace Kelly, your question.
So can I just say this first, that every day there are 22,000 acts of domestic violence. That is a lot. I used to sit on a team where we would serve victims of domestic violence, go out to the site and teach them about what they need to know. I would just say that the power will that is out there that put about a study in Duluth, Minnesota to understand what domestic violence looks like. Everybody should Google that so they can understand that domestic violence doesn't just happen. Say
it again. Repeat what you said, the power of.
It's called the power will, and it's a will that, and it describes all the types of domestic violence that can be put in someone's life, mostly a woman, whether it's intimidation, isolation, using the kids, finances, flat out abuse. And it is really, really important that people actually know the signs, because sometimes people don't know that they're even in a domestic violent relationship because they're just so used to doing it and they're not physically getting hit. But that's actually kind of a buildup, and it allows the man, in most cases, to kind of continue. Another thing that people don't understand, and I know that I kind of had to look at this in a different way, is that domestic violence death is the highest act of domestic violence. People try to, and it's easy to separate it. You might say, oh, well, that's a murder, that's a homicide. It really is the highest act of that person being mad at the menu that person was yelling at and got away with. So when you look at it like that, that's why you really have to get in and say something. Now, I'm a say something person because of my training. I think one of the good ways, and I've seen people do this, and that they have had interventions, the same way that you do with someone that's on drugs. The problem is in this society, and you've been talking about this, is that domestic violence isn't something that we kind of admit to, like drugs. When people are on drugs after 10 years, we give them a cake and say, I've been off drugs for 10 years. We don't do that with domestic violence. It is a secret that is so sacred within relationships that it's really, really hard to parse. But I would just strongly suggest that people look at that will. And I just want to say one more thing, and that is when I took the class to train to be on that team, the one thing that really resonated with me was that when most people are carrying out acts of domestic violence and they're mad, it all originates from some type of fear. And as you mentioned, Roland, fear that their job isn't going to pay something, that they're not a good father, that they're going to be embarrassed. They're going through a domestic situation, and I've lost custody of my kids, like the former lieutenant governor. And so you have all of these things, but it generally, that seed of fear, it really is something that if you are in a situation and you think about it, that's where you can really start, because it is a mental health issue. There is no reason why you should be hitting someone or screaming at someone because of something over the menu. You have to get that professional help to figure out, why are they doing this? What is that fear about? And if you're an outsider like you or I, and God bless you, because that is so difficult when it gets to a point where you have someone in your family that is a victim of domestic violence, because then that takes up everybody, right? Everybody's time, everybody's energy, and of course, all hands on deck. But if you do the work early, it involves everyone, not just that woman, because she's the person who's not going to do it. Why? Because she's going to suffer the repercussions if she does call the police, and then it escalates even more. It takes a woman an average of 8 to 9 times to leave a domestic violence situation. So as a friend, as a family, jump in and get involved, because that one menu where that goes wrong and you see them yelling, the highest act of that is a murder-suicide.
And Dr. Swift, as Candace was talking about the whole issue of the fear, again, I'm thinking about people commenting saying, why are y'all making excuses? Why are y'all trying to explain this away? And I kept saying, we're not trying to explain away a murder. We're not trying to make Justin Fairfax the victim. What we have to deal with is, how do we look at what somebody is going through, to Candace's point, so it doesn't become the ultimate act of domestic violence? That's really what we're trying to do with all of these conversations, is to not go there, Doc.
Exactly. My sister said something really, really important. I just want to bring back.
Go ahead.
She talked about sometimes people, and many times, don't even realize that they are in a domestic violent relationship. They don't even realize it. It was like, oh, he had a really bad day and this is what happened. Or he's been under a lot of stress and this is just what happened. Or I should not have said this. I should not have done this. I should have known better, right? But, he's usually really, so like we don't often think that, oh, this is domestic violence. And sometimes when you put a name on it, that's when you can begin to act against it, right? Or deal with it. And the people who are perpetuating it, often they don't see themselves because they feel justified in doing what they've done. They're reacting out of whatever is going on in their mind, and they don't see themselves as committing domestic violence. And so all of this is so insidious. And then you have the neighbor next door who's listening to the banging and listening to the yelling and the shouting, and they're like covering their ears because they don't want to know what's going on, right? So we are in a society where we don't want to look at this. This is the ugly side, and we want to just get away from it. The person that commits it, we want to, lock them up, throw away the key, and not think about it again. But this is something we need to bring front and center. We need to look at it. This was, I had a lot of conversations actually around this during COVID, when we were, distancing from each other. We were shut in because, of course, domestic violence spiked. People did not have outlets at that time. People did not have assistance and supports. The networks were broken. And so it was a thing. And from then to now, I'm seeing the conversations kind of reduce again, but we do have to bring this front and center. We have to look at it honestly. And also, my sister talked about, having a plan of action in play in order to be able to respond to this. And not just the person who's being beaten, but all of us have to be a part of the solution.
Michael.
All right, Dr. Swift Muhammad. I've been seeing my question is multi-layered, so I've been seeing a number of social media posts from African-American women, and some of them that I know, and they're saying things like intimate partner violence is not the same thing as mental health, right? And a lot of what they're talking about in relationship to Justin Fairfax and Serena is nothing solution-oriented, preventing this from happening, preventing domestic violence from happening. So my question is sometimes intimate partner violence, is that related to mental illness? Is that, how is it compounded by mental illness? And also in its just alone, the different types of manipulation that Candace mentioned. Is that in itself some type of mental illness? Okay, and what can we do to keep these tragedies from happening?
Absolutely. The manipulations is part of a mental health condition. The violence, the violence that's happening between partners is absolutely mental. I don't quite understand the perspective the women that you're referencing are coming from when they're saying that this is not mental health. This is not related to mental health.
Hey, Doc, I got a lot of sisters coming after me saying this is not mental health, and I was like, I don't know what else to call it. I'm like, how a person reacting it's because of what's going on up here. Depression, depression ain't what's happening in your leg. Depression is what's happening up here. And I'm literally on these posts and I'm like, what are y'all talking about? And they're like, well, if you call it mental health, that means that you're softening this. I'm like, no, it is a state of one's mental being.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say, that the only thing that I can consider is that they're trying to position this in a way that it doesn't, perhaps they think that if you say this person has experienced mental health illness, that it excuses them somehow. But it doesn't. It really doesn't. People still have to be accountable for what they do, how they act, how they treat other people, the risks that they put even upon themselves. So it is, in fact, a mental health issue. It deals with how we think, our emotions, our behaviors, our psychological presentation. These are mental health dynamics, right? And so it is absolutely, I don't know what else to say in that regard. It is mental health. And so this intimate partner violence is something that is happening, I would say often in the work that I've done, it's rooted in trauma for the people that are perpetuating it. These people are people who have experienced trauma, and they're perpetuating the cycles of trauma. And so that's mental health, right? That's mental illness. Many people are suffering from experiences of trauma, and it creates very dysfunctional ways of operating in the world, most particularly in relation to other people.
I want to bring in Dr. Tony Prothero-Wiley, who's a licensed professional counselor. Dr. Wiley, glad to have you be a part of this, Tori, be a part of this conversation.
Thank you for having me, Roland.
I had a sister tell me last night, she called me about 1 o'clock in the morning. She said, Roland, these sisters, they're angry because they're going through grief. And I said, I understand that. I said, there are brothers who are also grieving. Mm-hmm. And she said, well, you got to give this a beat. And my response to her was, first of all, we all grieve differently. What I said is, there's nothing that right now, because we've got no direction from either family, when it comes, I said, I can't, right now, I can't give to a scholarship fund for the kids. I can't do anything when it comes to therapy. I can't do any of those. I said, so there's nothing that I can do. I said, but what I can do, while people are angry and grieving, I said, I can use my platform and my voice to address the issue of violence and how we need to be stopping it. And others say, well, now's not the time. And I said, well, I can't, I said, I don't want to wait a week because something else may happen. And so as folks are, as you responding, and they're on Threads and Twitter and Instagram, and folks are doing posts on my posts, and I didn't like that your post of Justin Fairfax, and you used too many photos of people smiling, and it's all different response. And I'm saying we will never be able to confront the violence that is happening if we don't confront the people who are committing the violence.
Yes.
Speak to that.
So to the conversation that you and Dr. Swift were having about how the women are calling in, first and foremost, I just want to say thank you for this topic, because I do think that we are at a pivotal point between Black men and Black women. Our community is truly at each other's throats when it comes to intimacy, love, and being able to emote. And so I agree to what you're saying from the standpoint of this is an opportune moment to talk about violence and how this got out of control. But then on the other side of this, Roland, I do feel like many Black women feel as if when it comes to us, it's always minimized. Mm-hmm. That, when it comes to, justice, when it comes to, the DEI situation, everything when it comes to Black women, we are always expected to chin up, chest out, wait for the next opportunity. And so in lieu of that, what I'm saying is we all got to come to a place of empathy for both sides. The issue is we're led by an administration that has no empathy. We are led by people in corporate America and in legal, the legal industry and in any industry, the university industry, the educational industry. We are led by people now that show no empathy. That it's always the worst case scenario and the worst verdict for that worst case scenario. So empathy must come into play. Self-awareness must come into play. We got a lot of people walking around, and because of these things, we feel like we're not connected. There's a distance. There's an emotional distance and delay because of this and because of AI and all the other things technologically going on. But the gift of empathy is leaving. And so that's the thing that I feel like if we can start to really talk about humanity, let's leave the gender thing along. Let's leave the race thing along and focus on simple conversations around humanness. We will be in a different place.
Dr. Swift, I posted a clip from one of the brothers last night, and a sister jumps on my page. She says, men talking to other men ain't gonna solve nothing. They need help. And my response to her was, you clearly didn't listen to the show. The brother said, if we can get men to open up to a friend, then they're now on the pathway to go talk to a therapist. And I think I
love that.
I think, say it again? Oh, I'm sorry. And I think what...
I love that.
And I said, and sister, I said, no disrespect, but these are two experts giving us techniques to deal with this, and we can't reject it because we don't like what they're saying. And I think what Dr. Prothor Wiley just laid out is she's right. I mean, folks are at each other's necks. Again, I got folks who are mad at a Serena Fairfax post, who said I've used too many photos. And then when the Boule asked me to take it down because their logo was in it, and I deleted it, then they mad because I didn't take it down because the critics made me do it, because they made me do it. I was like, well, hold up, but you wanted it down. And so folks are going back and forth, and folks have been hitting me like, Ro, you good? I said, y'all, I've been doing columns since I was 17 years old. I'm used to criticism. This ain't my first rodeo. I said, we gonna stay on a pathway of helping people, educating people, and trying to deal with this issue. But this is the thing. This battle is going on, and I'm like, one thing no one can do, you cannot listen and process when it is a battle of rage and fight going on.
That's right. That's right. It's a both and. It really is a both. We need to do all of the above. You know, I'm focusing on, because this conversation is talking about those who are perpetrating the harm, the violence. And Dr. Prothor Wiley so appropriately brings in the empathy for the women who are angry, who are always, not just in these instances, right? We're always told, chin up, chest out, go forward, bite the bullet. Just handle it, suck it up, right? And so all of it is needed. And I don't know why we get into these very petty, conflicts over these teeny things. We need to do it definitely is a both and. We need to do all of this. We need to hold empathy for those who are being victimized. We need to hold empathy also, unpopular though it might be, for those who are victimizing, right? To understand it. And then we need to bring this family back together again in the end. So the digging and understanding is not just to identify a problem, as it were, and throw the person away. The digging is for the point of helping us to understand and for them to understand what's going on, why they did what they did, and to own accountability for the harm, because studies show that's when reform happens, right? Reform doesn't happen because I go to jail for 10 years, 20 years, or what have you. Reform happens when I am contrite because I recognize that I harmed someone and I don't like the fact that I did what I did. That's where restorative practice comes into play.
Dr. Prothor Wiley, as you were talking, a sister sent me this text this morning. And she said, I have a master's in psychology. I've dealt with domestic violence. She says, Roland, this is something men need to figure out. She said, I've talked, because when you talk about the human aspect, that's what triggered this. She said, women can't solve this, especially now. She said, we don't even have the empathy to understand or the capacity to take this on. Now, these are her words, and I'm not judging her.
Okay.
She said, men, this is a moment when men need to be speaking up. And the reason that I say that is because I told the story when I was at CNN and when the Chris Brown-Rihanna situation happened, the domestic violence situation. I surveyed every network, and every time I saw the discussion, it was always women. And I said, why are we not seeing men talk about domestic violence? And so when I got the feeling for Campbell Brown, I said, I want an all-male panel. The producers hated it. They hated it. I wanted Kevin Powell to come on because Kevin Powell had been openly talked about abusing women and how he had to, as Dr. Swift said, go through repair, and he talked about it. They said, oh, he's not important. The next week, he was on Oprah, and I said, oh, he good enough for Oprah, he couldn't come on CNN. But what was crazy, and so ever since then, I kept saying, we cannot confront domestic violence and not have men a part of the equation. So somebody told me, why don't you have 2 male psychologists? I said, because I needed men talking about the problem. I said, if we only have women talking about it and you leave men out of it, how do you leave people out of a conversation when 96% of the problem are men? And so I'm like, yo, the voice has got to be there. I'm like, black male organizations have got to step up. Justin Fairfax was an alpha and he was in the Boule. And I'm saying alpha and the Boule should be leading on this issue of men and domestic violence. I'm like, this is what leadership is supposed to be about.
Correct. And I will take it even further too, Roland, from a standpoint of the young men who watch their mothers be brutalized, and then they at some point began to brutalize or to hurt women as well. Those reformed men need to come out and talk to men as to modeling, talk to men as to mentorship, talk to men as to humanness again. But what we do is we get reformed, we get refined, and then we forget.
Or we go quiet.
Yes.
I don't want nobody to know about my past.
Yes.
But you could be freeing another brother who says, oh man, I didn't realize that was your past.
Yes. To have men in real time talk about what comes over them once they become enraged, what has happened to them in a way that can teach men how to not only change and shift when they're triggered, but also how to love their women better. I mean, just period. Like this should not just stop with a man not being violent.
Right.
This should stop with a man having and showing compassion and empathy and emotional intellect.
Right. How to love, how to affirm, right, because everything is not about a outburst or a violent reaction. I'm gonna come back around. Candace, you have a question? We added Dr. Prolet Wiley. You have a question?
Yeah, I guess my question is, in terms of what we can actually do in the moment, what would you suggest? I mean, I know what I've learned, but listen, this is 2026. It's a different time. We've got different stressors. I mean, I think ultimately you have to talk to someone in order to actually solve this problem. If they don't do it out here, they're going to do it behind bars in terms of talking to a psychologist. But in terms of the regular person who has a friend that they see in a situation, what do you say is step one on opening that door for conversation that might lead to some action?
Giving that person an opportunity to share their truth, like asking a person truly what's going on and wanting to hear what's going on, not having a conversation to change them, to fix them, to correct them initially, but to just show, again, empathy and ask a person, what's going on with you? Let me understand what is perplexing you, and then to have a true conversation from that person's perspective. People have a hard time accepting change when there's no, of course, clarity. So as long as I'm confused and you confused and you confused, then how exactly do we get clarity so that we can find a new path? You can't get clarity without questions, and you can't get a great conversation without a person feeling like they can trust or at least feel like they're going to be heard in a conversation. So the conversation needs to truly be inquisitive as to why do you do what you do? What has happened that makes this so common or easy for you to do?
Now, I have my guidelines, but when do you call the police? When is it, you know what, this isn't a talk thing anymore. We need to call the police. Because I just saw you punch your wife.
Yes,
as an example.
I do agree. Now let me dial back. I definitely agree that, you know, when you witness in real time violence, male or female, humanity should say that I'm going to do something to help this person. You know, I'm going to do something to help this person that obviously is being hurt. Now, once we get into the throes of that, just like when a person commits a homicide, from my understanding, there are some training and tacticals where police come in first and talk from a perspective rather than just locking up. Don't get me wrong, lockup needs to happen. I will never say a man should not go to jail for hitting a woman, ever. But what I am saying is to start a conversation, and the conversation may need to start with cuffs on. I'll be honest. It may. It may.
Okay.
Michael.
My question is, what are some ways that you suggest that we raise young boys to grow up to be men that don't abuse women in the various ways that we talked about, not just physically hitting, but the ways that Candace talked about on the power wheel? Okay, when we have boys that may grow up in homes, they may not see abuse. Maybe it's a single parent home, what have you. But what are some tips that you can give us?
Well, if the young man is in the home with his father, the father should be modeling not just behaviors, but even how he thinks and speaks towards his wife. Like, a lot of people don't correct children when they talk back, when they're unruly, when they're mean or rude to their mothers. That's a great place for a man to start, is to just simply model that I'm going to cherish this woman and talk to this woman like she is important to me, significant to me. If a child doesn't have access to a man in his house, but he is connected to a church, he is connected to school, he is connected to organizations, these single moms need to go out and find men that can pour into their sons the way that they want their son to become. So I do think that a lot of it starts with parenting, but I also think, again, your modeling and your mentorship is what's going to make youth look different.
Okay, thank you.
I want to close with this, and I would love for both of y'all to respond. This morning, 7:24 a.m., a brother sends me a text, very prominent individual. He said, "Brother, your Unfiltered last night was everything." He said, "Justin was a friend, and I let myself lose touch. And I knew in my spirit he needed a stronger anchor and a voice that countered some of the other things he was feeling. My heart hurts deeply about this tragedy. I thank you for helping me." Then as I was driving to the studio, another sister, prominent sister, sent me a text. She said, "Just wanted to say, great show last night, very touching. Fairfax was a personal friend, and he struggled so much over the years. My heart is broken for the entire family. I lost my brother to suicide. Black male mental health is a discussion we need to have." Now, there have been a lot of people who've been critical. That's fine. I can accept criticism. I can accept praise. Doesn't matter to me. But this is the whole point why I fundamentally believe, and I'm going to go to Dr. Swift first and then go to Dr. Wiley. This is why you can't wait. Because what has happened, I have heard from brothers who, since this murder-suicide, are checking on friends of theirs. I've heard from sisters who are doing the exact same thing, checking on friends of theirs who they know are in contentious relationships. And so what I will argue, Dr. Swift, is here we are, 48 hours or whatever after this murder-suicide, with a murder-suicide in Chicago on Tuesday, the murder-suicide last week of the vice mayor in Florida. And what we cannot do is say, pump the brakes. We shouldn't be having these conversations. Let us grieve. We should be using every opportunity, every platform to speak on pain, on agony, on mental health, on anger, on all of this, because the desired goal is to protect every sister. And if we do not put this on Front Street and have open, real conversations and not tucked into our text groups or our Signal chat groups, then to be honest, we're going to be back here again and again and again. Dr. Swift, close us out.
Amen. Amen to what you're saying. All of the above. And I'm going to say again, we need to do everything. It has to be a both and. There might be people who it's just too much. I can't have the conversation. I can't hear the conversation. I need to grieve. Go grieve. Go grieve. Everybody doesn't have to be in the conversation. You go grieve, and let's go over here and let's have this conversation for those of us who can have the conversation so that we can keep something going, so that when you finish grieving, now you can come join the conversation or be a part of the change that needs to happen in order to prevent these acts from continuing on in our community. So yeah, I agree 1000%. The first quote that you read, that you said someone sent to you, it touched me. And it reminded me of that, we say, see something, say something. And too often we get stuck in this, maybe I shouldn't. What happens if I do? But what if I'm wrong, right? What if I think there might be something going on, but it really isn't? So we just see something, say something, and then and then those of us who receive the question understand that it's all out of love. It's all out of love. We got to do all of the above. We are in crisis mode right now. We have to do all of the above. We need everyone at the table. Thank you.
Yes.
Dr. Protho Wally.
Agreed. I think the sooner the better. I also think that we do need more Black men to show up. Roland, thank you so much for what you are doing and what you are pushing as well, because I do think that there needs to be more of a push. There needs to be more of a necessity for Black women to be taken care of and to be protected. I think that, again, for the Black women that feel like we're not being sung for, heard for, I think that this time right now with divisiveness, we don't need this in the Black community. We really got to figure out in our community how we're going to change and not mimic what's going on in the country.
I'll say this to the alphas, to the kappas, to the omegas, to the sigmas, to the iotas, to Prince Hall Mason, to Black men's church groups, to all of these different entities, Knights of Peter Claver. There are numerous Black male organizations that are out there. And let me be clear, in every single one of these organizations, in every single one, there are brothers who are potential Justin Fairfaxes. There are brothers in our midst who are laying hands on the women in their lives. There are brothers who we are going to cigar bars with, playing basketball with, watching games with, who are triggered, who are angry, who are committing acts of domestic violence, or they are on the pathway to commit acts of domestic violence, including the ultimate act, which is murder or murder-suicide. And what cannot happen, we cannot be gathering all the time for fun and games, for stepping, for strolling, for enjoyment, and not having and creating spaces for real, intimate, personal, painful, difficult, challenging conversations, because we say, that's not what alphas do. That's not what the Boule does. That's not what Omegas do. That's not what Prince Hall Mason do. No. So we have these spaces. And then what we have to also then do is begin to open the doors of the church, open the doors of our organizations to brothers who are not in our circles, to say, if y'all need a place to come talk, to come share, to come deal with this, then come here as well. Because the ultimate goal is very simple. The ultimate goal is, whether it is a mother or a wife or a aunt or a niece or a daughter or a cousin, is for them not to go through this life terrified of the black man who is in their life. They should not have to wake up every single day scared. They should not have to wake up every single day walking on eggshells because I don't know what side of the bed he's going to wake up on. And those of us who are seeing these things, and we're seeing these small little things that are happening, as Dr. Swift said, you don't say nothing. Don't come complain. Don't come talking about afterwards, after he's killed somebody, but you saw what was going on. I hadn't talked to Justin in a year. I didn't know what was happening in his personal life. I was surprised about the divorce. And so if I did, I can guarantee you it would have been, bruh, let me holler at you. I've taken brothers out to lunch. Hey, let's talk. Because what we have to recognize is there is a cone of silence among black men who believe that it is weak to talk and to share. Well, I tell you what, I would rather talk and share with the brother before he goes to prison, before he goes to jail, or before he puts his woman in the grave. This is not a moment of silence. This is a moment for black male leadership. And the ultimate provider of black men, the ultimate spiritual covering, is when you protect the women in your lives. And that could be from someone who looks just like you. Dr. Prothowale, I appreciate it. Dr. Swift, thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you so very much.
Brother Roland, may I just say,
yes,
as president of the Association of Black Psychologists, I appreciate what you just said, and I want to put out to your listening audience that this is what we do. We are responsible to and for our community. We hold space for our community. And so for those who have been injured, who are looking for a space to go, looking for people to respond, the Association of Black Psychologists, abpsi.org, is where you can look.
Well,
and we want to be there with and for you.
Well, listen, this platform was created to give black experts the opportunity to share their expertise. Y'all are welcome back anytime. Send us an email. If you see a story, you see something you want to talk about, let us know. Because, again, white media ain't going to have an hour-long conversation about this issue. It's going to be hit it and quit it. And so that's why this platform was created. We appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Good night.
Folks, going to a quick break. We come back, our Shop Black Star Network segment. Sisters, y'all gonna really like what my next guest has to offer for you. You're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network.
Why does it feel like we're going backward? Voting rights under attack, schools stripped of funding, black history erased. This is the Trump MAGA agenda. They want to take us back. They are redrawing congressional lines in states across the country, deciding who gets power and who gets silenced. We see what this is, a power grab. Virginians won't be fooled. Show up, vote, take back our power. It's a temporary measure that gives the people, not politicians, the final say. Vote yes by April 21st.
How you doing? I'm Mark Curry, and you're watching the Black Star Network. That's why I got these glasses on, because that black star is bright.
Ladies, are you looking for something comfortable, affordable, day wear, or lounge wear? Well, Everyday Ritual has something for you. The co-owners are Adrian Gordon and Rana Farshuk. And Adrian is here with us right now to talk about their luxurious and stylish outfits. All right, take us through this. All right, where did this idea come from? So what happened? You were just sitting around and you were like, this is not really comfortable.
First of all, thank you for having me. And kudos for tackling such a heavy subject in our community. It's really, really interesting.
I appreciate it.
You talk about that. So everyday ritual. It started with a conversation with my husband, actually, right after I had a child, maybe roughly 8 years in. And he was like, "What are you wearing, you know, around the house? What is that Giants t-shirt with the grease stains on it?" And so on and so forth. And I was like, "You don't like this? This ain't doing it for you?" And he's like, "Babe, let me get you something. Let me, you know, because you used to like look a little cute around the house." And I said, no, let me go look for myself. I'll find something. And I started looking for comfortable cotton, natural fibers, you know, loungewear, sleepwear I could wear. I have son, so I could wear around my son and still feel pretty, but also like be comfortable. I worked outside the home. Mom, wife, daughter, sister, all the things that we do. And I needed something that was sustainable, washable. I didn't need to be $1 million. And so that's where it came from. And when we relocated out to California, I hooked up with my old friend, Raina, my old colleague. We'd worked together in the past. And she was like, "What do you want to do?" And I said, "I don't know." She's like, "Let's make something." And I said, "Sleepwear, pajamas, loungewear," because I couldn't find it, you know, in all natural fibers for under $300.
Well, so here's one of the outfits, this little short little thing right here.
That's the baby doll. Mm-hmm.
Okay, this is the baby doll right here. Okay, all right, so let's see here.
It's got chest support. It's got built-in chest support. So you don't, you know, ladies, it holds you up a little bit when you're walking around.
Oh, built-in. Oh, I see. Okay,
sleeve.
I was looking like, hold on, what are we talking about here? Okay, I see. All right, the built-in chest support. Okay, and then we've got
without being restrictive.
Actually, this is pretty cool. So I wouldn't be surprised if you see some.
Caftan. That's our number one selling item, hands down. It's the Tracy caftan. You can throw it on. You can travel in it. You can. Roll it up.
Hey. Well, Adrian, the reason I jumped because I've got about 8 or 10 caftans, and for the dudes who don't have no passports, it's not a dress. There are men in many African countries, in many Asian countries, who wear caftans, so it ain't a dress.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why the moment I immediately saw this and I said, well, this could be loungewear, I wouldn't be surprised if the folks say, yo, I can go ahead and rock this and wear it to the, matter of fact, hold up, y'all need to switch to the other camera because I can't properly show the dress because y'all next shot. Yeah, there you go. Okay, switch to that shot.
I'm trying to get you a model.
Oh, I'm trying to get them so they can actually see. No. Go to the other one in front of the Black Star Network products so they can see the full dress. Okay, so here we go. So this is the full caftan right here. Drop the lower third, please. Drop the lower third. Drop the lower third. There you go.
Side
All right.
slits to show off your legs.
There you go.
Button up. The sleeves are adjustable too.
And again, first of all, it does feel great. It feels absolutely great. And that's the thing what I love about caftans. Boom, you just throw them on. It's like, all right, let's go. I can chill, I can relax, and it's pretty cool. So, but you said this is your best-selling one?
It's our number one selling item. It has a following now. You can belt it, throw it on, go to Whole Foods, go wherever you're going, wear it around the house, sleep in it, wear it by the pool, wherever. It's an put it on a Zoom, put some jewelry on and zhuzh it up at the top and you'll be presentable.
How many different products do y'all now have?
Everyday Ritual probably has about 85 to 100 SKUs. So different items from pajamas to loungewear to dusters, things you can throw on, t-shirts. And all of it is in cotton or silk.
Okay. All right. Cool. Candace, you got a question?
Yes. So in terms of designing it, what was your input in that and what's next? I know there's always something next for people who are in business on their own.
Well, my business partner who couldn't be here, Raina, together, we've designed before in the past and together. And so where she's super technical and great with just how to construct a garment, because I don't sew. I'm better at what is saleable, like what feels good, what will fit, what consumers would want. So if the neckline is here, it should be there, so we work together on it, to make sure that has mass appeal. so that everybody can wear it. It's multi-generational. You can get something for yourself, you can get something for your daughter, and you can get something for your mom or your auntie. So we try to make sure there's a little something in there for everybody.
And the baby doll is pretty bouncy. Michael, what's the question?
All right, so putting my entrepreneurship teacher hat on, how do you distribute your garments? Is it only online, or you?
Boy, the distributor on shopblackstarnetwork.com, Michael. That's what Michael. This is called the shopblackstarnetwork.com segment. So
I understand.
But Michael, I was
waiting for it.
Michael, we're distributing them on shopblackstarnetwork.com.
Right. Okay. Yes. So you got that, but are they at
Michael?
Like
they're distributing on shopblackstarnetwork.com.
Okay. So my next question would be, what is your most popular item on the blackstarnetwork.com?
She just told you. She said it's the caftan.
It'll probably be the caftan.
Okay.
It'll probably be the caftan because at shopblackstarnetwork.com, we have given an incentive. The pricing is much lower than you can Google anywhere else. So your viewers, Roland, have really great pricing. We've, dare I say, discounted it because we wanted your viewers to have an incentive to support shopblackstarnetwork.com.
Absolutely. So for everybody who paying attention, who need to, like Michael, we created this marketplace because let me be real clear, we created this marketplace because a lot of Black-owned companies do not have marketing dollars and getting their products out. And when you're supporting these products, you're also supporting this show. And so we get a part of the proceeds. That's how we're able to keep this thing going. And so when Michael's like, well, where else can you get it? We want you to go to shopblackstarnetwork.com. That's the whole point.
Right. Of course, yeah, we want them to do that.
Now, here's the inspiration, Roland.
Huh?
Here's the inspiration right here.
What's that? Hold up. I can't.
Can you see him?
Oh, yeah, there you go. He was like, hey, baby, you got to put on something else. So so him looking for something else. First of all, what's his name?
This is Galen.
Galen. What? Oh, hold up. I don't even see the monitor. That's why.
You can't see.
No, I couldn't. Now I see it. Oh, Galen Gordon. My ball. Okay, all right. See, first of all, Adrian, how you didn't say that earlier? Y'all, I've been knowing Galen for like 20-some-odd years. Yeah, I can hear Galen say, baby, you're going to put on something else because that ain't doing it. That ain't doing it. So, that ain't doing it. So, glad to see both of y'all. Again, folks, if y'all want to check out the products, again, we just showed y'all the baby doll. We showed y'all Michael, the best-selling item, which is the caftan.
Black Star Network.
The caftan.
Shop Black Star.
There you go.
All right. Is it in pink and green? My girlfriend's an AK. Is it in pink and green?
No, it's in pink. Damn it.
Get that for her.
Damn
we
it.
have pink. We have green. We have blue, purple. Every color under the sun is there. There's pajamas, long sleeve, elastic waist, baby dolls. All of it's there, and the beautiful dusters are there.
There you go. All right, y'all. Okay. So again, y'all can check it out. Everyday Ritual. Go to shopblackstarnetwork.com. Michael. So y'all be sure to get the products. Listen, I keep telling y'all. Listen, y'all got birthday gifts. You got anniversary gifts. You just got gifts. You just want to go in and gift. Mother's Day is coming up. Y'all buy it all out. I keep saying to our folk, we created this because we have to create space to celebrate and support Black-owned businesses. And so that's why we have the marketplace. Indeed. We got more than 50 different companies on there. We got literally all of these products are on shopblackstarnetwork.com, but I want y'all to definitely go there. And you already heard Adrian say they lowered the prices on their outfits at shopblackstarnetwork.com. Man, y'all buy it all out. Adrian, congratulations. This is awesome. It does feel great. If y'all had this in 2X, I would rock this sucker. I'm just playing.
We have to make you one. We have to make you one, Roland.
I literally just ordered a gold caftan just the other day. And so I appreciate it. Congratulations. Good luck with this. And welcome to the shopblackstarnetwork.com family.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Thanks a bunch. Let me thank Michael. Michael, where to get it? ShopBlackStarNetwork.com. Damn.
I wrote it down, Roland.
Like, we do this. Like, we do this every damn week. And Candace, I don't even know. So y'all, listen. I got 25th wedding anniversary next week, so I'm leaving tomorrow to go somewhere. I need some sun. So Candace is gonna be sitting in for me next week. I got a special guest who might be doing one day. I don't know, Carol. I got to work it out with that person. I don't want to tell y'all yet, but y'all gonna be hyped if it happens. So Candace, please keep him in line. Explain to him where you can actually buy stuff. Mike trying to send people to somewhere else to buy stuff.
No, I wasn't trying to send them other places.
Yes, you were. You were trying to. You were gonna send them somewhere. You gonna send them somewhere else, and we ain't gonna get no sales and get no credit because your ass asked you, well, anywhere else you could be distributed.
Well, this is gonna be one of your best segments, Roland, of this. Because see, this is driving up your algorithm. So
Candace,
so people are gonna go to shopblackstar.com.
See, he can't. Candace, he can't even get the name right. Candace, tell him what the damn name. No, stop talking. See, that's why you can't let Sigmas talk too long. Candace, say it again. What the name is?
You're gonna go and get your caftans, and you're gonna get everything that you want to be comfortable at shopblackstarnetwork.com.
There you go. That's real simple, right. Michael. All right.
Yep.
Candace, have fun next week. I'm going to be playing golf, enjoying the sun, relaxed, and clear my mind. Michael, thanks a lot as well. Hey, folks, got to go again. So I got 25th wedding anniversary, April 21st. And then next Saturday, I'm flying straight to Texas. My dad turned 79 years old, Reginald Lynn Martin Sr. So I'm going to be celebrating his 79th birthday with the family. So look forward to that. And so, listen, y'all, we do what we do. Listen, folk gonna criticize, people gonna get mad. I had a woman say, I'm gonna walk back over here. I literally had a woman say, you know, I unfollowed, I stopped my contributions. And guess what? Everybody has a right. Everybody has a right to unfollow. Everybody has a right not to donate. But the reality is this here, we're going to always have the conversations that other people are afraid to have. We're going to always keep pushing the envelope to get them to understand that we are going to have the tough stuff that other people don't want to do. I don't speak for, I don't control any other Black-owned media. I don't do whatever the mainstream media is doing. That ain't what I do. But I told y'all when we launched this show on September 4th, 2018, that I was committed to having the conversation everybody else was afraid to have. And I was committed to bringing Black experts to this platform so they will be able to talk and share their knowledge and expertise and enlighten our people about what's going on. And we're going to always do that. And what I need folk to recognize is that we are never going to always agree on everything. And in fact, when I put up posts, and I said this here, when I deleted a post, because Sigma Pi Phi asked me, they said I broke the fraternity rules. Okay, fine, I broke the rules. Instagram doesn't allow you to replace the photo, so I had to delete the whole thing. But when people leave critical comments, I don't delete them. I'll leave them up. Because I'm not afraid of discourse. And if I take a position, am I going to defend my position? Yes, I am. Disagreement is not bad. But what we're never going to do is we're never going to shy away from the conversation that we need to have. And so we're going to do that every single day, 5 days a week on this show. And we're going to do it on the other shows on the network. Because if we are not having the tough, hard, difficult, heavy conversations, then who is? If we're not, then who? And so that's what our commitment is. So we're going to always keep doing. So I want y'all to support. We've had 37,000. Keenan, give me the new list. It should probably up to be 38,000. But we've had, last check, 37,179 donors. And these are the people that contribute more than $5 million. These are the people that have allowed us to be able to travel this country. These people have allowed us to be able to broadcast, to expand this from, I think we started with like 6 people. We now got 17. We got 17 people. And we are committed. We are committed to speaking about black folks, loving on black folks, holding black folks accountable in every facet. So your support is critical. So please do so. If you want to give me a Cash App, use the Stripe QR code. You see it right here. You can use it for credit cards as well. Checks and money order. Make it payable to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037 7-0196. PayPal's R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo's RM Unfiltered. Zelle, Roland at RolandSMartin.com. Roland at RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Download the Black Star Network app. Apple phone, Android phone, Apple TV, Android TV, Roku, Amazon Fire TV, Samsung Smart TV. If you want to get our Roland Martin Unfiltered swag, please go to shopblackstarnetwork.com, Michael. Shopblackstarnetwork.com for our t-shirts, hoodies, wall art, mugs, and all that good stuff. And support our black-owned companies that are on there as well. Please do so, because that is critically important. So again, we just had the founders of Everyday Ritual, and we just had Adrian on, and so support them. Support the other companies as well at shopblackstarnetwork.com. Follow me on Fanbase, download the app, and please, let's support that. And of course, watch Brittany Noble, the Breakdown of Brittany Noble every single day, noon Eastern, right here on the Black Star Network. Check out our new health show, Second Opinion with Dr. Ebony Hilton. Airs every Thursday right here on the blackstarnetwork.com. I will be gone for the next week. Y'all, Candace will hold it down. The staff will hold it down. Don't call me, don't text me, because I'm going to be chilling, getting some R&R, because there's always a lot of work to do, and we have to also learn to take time away to recharge our batteries and get it going. So look forward to that. So again, thanks a bunch, folks. I will see y'all April 27th. So again, early shout out. Let me see. I'm gonna send a photo and have them give a shout out to my dad. So early 79th birthday shout out to my dad, Reginald Martin Sr. All right, folks. I will see y'all April 27th.